let's take a look here at this grid that's behind my beat. Okay, so right now the grid is locked. You can see that each beat, right, beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4, is divided into 4, right? So now when I zoom in, so I'm just clicking above the scrub area, you can see this little magnifying glass, and I'm just going to scroll down, and you can see that the grid blocks are stretching. So the division's not changing. It's still, each beat is divided into 4. It's just getting wider because I'm zooming in. So if I hit Command 5, the grid becomes adaptable, meaning as I zoom in, the divisions are going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. Yeah, so you can see that there more and more lines are appearing, okay? So I'm going to go back to the fixed grid, so Command 5 again. So now a couple good ones to know are just adjusting the size of the grid. So if I want the grid to get smaller, I hit Command 1, and you can see it's added another layer, Command 1, right, getting really small now. And that can be useful, like, for example, let's say you're doing some like trap drums and you want to add, right, these little really small hi-hat runs, you know, something like that. That sounded cool even in this beat. So that way you can make these little runs. You could do the opposite too, which is making the grid bigger, which is Command 2. And that way, let's say I knew I wanted just a kick on every bar, then it makes it really easy to do that. All right. The next one is Command 3. So we had Command 1, which is making the grid smaller. Command 2 makes the grid bigger. And now if you take a close look, when I hit Command 3, it's turned into triplets. Okay, so now, and I'll just show you here what that would sound like. Each beat is divided into 3. Right, so it's kind of, yeah, it's cool. That can be really useful also for your hi-hats, creating cool rhythms and stuff like that. So Command 3 makes it divisible by 3, right? So triplets. If I hit Command 3, it goes back to 2 or 4, whatever you had before. And now the last one, which is Command 4, which takes the grid off completely. This can be helpful for making really small adjustments, like if you don't want the note to lock to the grid, but you want your hat to come a little bit early or a little bit late, you can turn off the grid and then make that adjustment. Okay, so Command 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, really important for when you are working with your drum rack, so you can very quickly adjust your grid appropriately. Okay, let's go over a few more keyboard shortcuts here that can be really helpful to make drum beats really fast. So I'm going to make the grid a little bit smaller. So I'm going to select this note here as my snare. To make this note longer or shorter, you're going to hit Shift, and then you can use the arrow keys. So I'm going to hold Shift, and then I'm going to go to the right, and it's going to make the note longer. Left is going to make it shorter. In addition, you can use the arrow keys just to move the note around. So let's say I had loaded, a couple snare sounds. I just wanted to hear which one I liked best. So you can just use the arrow keys to go up and down with that. So another thing, this is kind of more useful when you're working with notes and not a drum rack, but if you click on or select one of the notes, if you hit Shift and then up, it goes an octave up, an octave up. A really nice thing Ableton does is offer a lot of free stuff. So what Ableton has on their website are a bunch of packs you can download, and I'll drop a link in the video description below where you can check that out. But they have a bunch of pre-made drum racks for you, so with sounds that were designed by people that work with them. So I'm going to go down here in my browser to packs. Right, these are where all your free downloaded, or they have some for purchase as well. And if you download a pack from Ableton, they show up here in packs. And so I'm going to go to, let's see, this first one, 64 Pad Lab by Mad Zach. And you can see here right below, drum racks. Okay, and then it'll give me a little preview of what the drum rack sounds like. Yeah, ooh, that's dirty. Right, I'm gonna load one of these up here just to show you what that looks like. Preloaded drum rack. All right, so if you take a look down here, you can see that they have loaded many banks of sounds. So you've got 4 whole banks of sounds, right? That's a lot to work with. Okay, I'm just gonna make another quick beat here just to show again kind of how I'm working in the drum rack. So I'm gonna create a clip. Let's actually make this 4 bars. So we have a little bit more to work with. There's a lot of sound, so I'm gonna make my area down here pretty big. My little headphone button is highlighted so I can hear all the sounds, right, if I want. Okay, let's, I'm gonna take the BPM up to like 140 and we'll do it in half time. So this is gonna be kind of trappy, or let's see. And let's find, where are the kicks? Where are the kicks? Here we go. All right, so I'm gonna make my grid a little bit bigger. Let's see. Let's stop this other clip from playing. Ooh. Okay, I'm gonna duplicate that. So I'm just highlighting all those notes, selecting all, and hitting Command D. All right, and let's see what else we got here. I think I'm gonna change the second hit. Cool. Just dragging. I didn't talk about that before, but you can also click and then just drag it up and down, and it'll go through all the songs, or sounds rather. Let's see what else we got here. Whew. All right, so that was pretty loud. I'm gonna take the velocity down so it's pretty quiet. I just kind of want that to be kind of spooky in the background. Okay, like I showed before, I'm gonna do this little trick here. All right. And then I'm gonna, one more thing you can do. Now that I'm working, of course, I'm remembering all these little tricks to show you. So if I have notes drawn in one lane, which represents the sound, right, one lane across. If I click the keyboard note, you can see it selected all of them. So that's a really easy way to select a whole row if I want to adjust the entire row. I'm going to go back to my other drum kit to show you kind of a cool little trick you can do with your hat. So I'm going to make this 2 bars. I'm going to get rid of this every other kick. And I'm just going to duplicate this. So you can highlight everything and hit Command D. Or there's also this nice button over here that says Duplicate Loop. I'm going to go back to like 120 with the BPM. Let's hear what we got here. Those triplets. Okay, so what I want to show you here is just how to create a little turnaround at the end of your drums. So at the end of 2 bars is a little short. You could do it after 2. Most likely it'll be after 4 bars or maybe 8 bars. You probably want to create what's called a little turnaround in your drums. So this can be done either by just like omitting sound. Let's duplicate the loop again, actually, for the example. So this could be done just by omitting sound so that there's kind of an expectant moment at the end before the loop restarts. So I'll give you an example of how that would sound. So I'm just going to take out the last couple beats here. All right, so another thing that you can do is create a little hi-hat roll. So that can sound really cool, and I'm going to show you a really cool trick that you can do with your velocity there too. So I'm going to take out these for effect. I'm going to make my grid pretty small, not that small. Okay, and let's see how this sounds. So I'm just going to draw in hi-hats here. All right, they're all at the same velocity. I'm going to keep them highlighted. I'm going to go down here to this corner, and I'm going to hold down the Command button, click, and I'm going to draw this little line. You can see a dotted line appeared, and this is going to shape my velocities in this way. So now I've created a little increase in volume or increase in velocity at the end. So you'll hear how that sounds, right? Let's just start from here. Oops. Cool. So you can hear it got louder. It's going to do kind of an extreme example here for you. Going to copy and paste that here. All right, so another kind of cool way to do this, I'm going to highlight all this, and for the first half, I'm going to go up, and for the second half, I'm going to go down. And this is going to be really long, so it might sound a little silly, but you'll get what I mean. Yeah, sounded pretty cool, actually. I have this really long row of hi-hats, increasing velocity, decreasing velocity, creates a cool rolling effect. Now let's do an example where we're gonna play the drums in. So I've got my Ableton push right here, and my drum rack that's armed here. So what I'm gonna do is put my metronome on. I'm gonna hit here this little record button, and I'm just gonna play in a drum beat of some kind. So just something really simple. So here we go. All right, so I just played something in. Okay, now I'm gonna click on the clip, and what I played will show up here. So of course you can see that what I played isn't that accurate in comparison to what I drew in, of course. So we can quantize the notes here so that they lock to the grid more. So I'm going to click down here in the clip. I'm going to select all, Command A, and then I'm going to hit right click or control click, and you'll see the option here to quantize. Okay, so quantize settings is probably what you want to click on. If you just hit quantize, it'll just use whatever previous settings you had up. So let's hit quantize settings. And then here we go, the little quantize box started up. So I'm going to go with, I think, eighth notes. Here you can see there's different values that you can go with. So it'll quantize to 32nd notes, 16th notes, 16th triplets. So you have a couple options here. I'm going to go with eighth notes. Adjust the note so you can see each note has a start and an end, right? Beginning and an end. So if the start and the end are on, which is when they're yellow, then both the beginning and the end of the note will lock to, a 1/8 grid. If I have the end taken off, then it'll just adjust the start and the note will stay approximately the same length. So I'm going to do start and end and hit OK. And now you can see, that my drum beat is locked into the grid. Now let's turn off the metronome. That's a really quick way of making your drums that you played in really clean. The last thing I'm going to show you is how to add a groove. Okay, so programming your drums can sound kind of, sterile or just computerized because drummers naturally play things not exactly on the beat, right? They have a different groove or style that they play in. Maybe the kick's a little bit earlier late, the snare's a little bit earlier late, the hi-hats might be swung instead of played straight. So Ableton has a way of bringing in that sort of live feel by adding a groove. So the groove is over here right in the clip box. So you can see here it says groove, and then there's a little hot swap button next to it. So I'm going to click that hot swap button, and in my browser, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for us, in my browser, all of the different groove options have shown up here. So let's try like a swing. I'm going to go with something kind of drastic so that you can hear it. So I'm just double clicking, and you can see down here, it's added the swing. It's added the groove that I picked out. So let's hear it. All right, so obvious difference, right? From before, you can hear that the notes are really swung quite a lot. And then if you want to make, you could see the MIDI has stayed the same, right? The MIDI has stayed the same, but the groove is being applied. So the hi-hats look exactly like they did before, right? Nothing changed. If you want the MIDI notes to reflect the groove, you're gonna come over here to the side and just hit commit. And now you can see the notes have actually changed duration. Right? The notes have actually changed. All right, so that's how you add a groove. But once you commit, there's no going back unless you hit undo, right? Command Z. So if you want to change it later, that could be a problem. So only commit if you're really going to do like even more editing after that, or you have a reason that you want the notes to reflect the groove. Just be careful with that one because you can't go back. All right, so there we go. That's a bunch of tips for drum programming. Hopefully that was helpful for you, getting started at least. And you can check out my YouTube for more tutorials. I have a series on performing live with Ableton Live. So definitely check that out and subscribe if you enjoy the tutorials. And thanks for watching. All right.